Tell me what you know about the Joker.
I'm just fascinated by what you're playing here. What is the psychology? How do you get into this?
I'm working with, to this day, the 12-year-old me, that 7-year-old me. I put my hand on my chest and it's like he's still in there. And if I can do the work with my therapist and my psychiatrist, I was able to bring that into the work, and it was healthy. I don't know anything.
But in its own way, and even with all the darkness that you have to look at, there's a wholesomeness to it and a beauty to it that I was very moved by.
It's so fun. I love it.
The woods?
This episode was filmed before the writers and actors strike. Without their labor, our show wouldn't exist. We support their strike efforts. If you'd like to support them as well, go to www.entertainmentcommunity.org and donate.
Hello everyone and welcome to Cinema Therapy. I am Alan Seawright, a professional filmmaker who needs therapy.
And I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies.
And today we are joined by a very special guest. You've seen him in The Dark Knight, the Ant-Man films. He plays Peter DeVries in Dune. He plays a pivotal role in Prisoners.
Suicide Squad, he's fantastic.
And he is...
The Suicide Squad, because they're two different films.
He is a motherfucking superhero in Suicide Squad.
I'm a superhero! I'm a motherfucking super...
David DASTMALCHIAN. Welcome, David.
Hi. How are you guys? It's great to see you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Today we wanted to talk about the psychology of an actor. The parts you play are so widely varied and always so interesting psychologically.
And you're a passionate advocate for mental health and mental health treatment, and so whatever you feel inclined to share about your own personal journey as we go along, I'm sure will be helpful for people.
I'm a dual diagnosis individual who has struggled with mental illness as well as addiction, which they go hand in hand. But since I do feel comfortable talking about it, I'm happy to do so. It's part of my journey, and hopefully somebody who is watching this will hear something that makes them feel a little less alone. And then this whole thing just elevated its purpose for all of us, you know?
Love it.
Am I right in this, that your first role that you booked in a film was Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight?
That is true.
Way to come out swinging.
I mean, the universe is an incredible place, and life is an amazing journey, and for all of its hardships and all of the pain and doubt and suffering, I am so blessed, and my cup runneth over with these incredible miracles. But that's a huge one. I get a chance to audition for a clown mask wearing bank robber. So I auditioned for and I prepared a character based on the scenes I was given. And so I obviously knew it was going to be about the Joker, and I created a character based on that. And I went in and I was so nervous and racked with anxiety. I called my mom. She said a prayer for me. I was just... Oh my God! I went in. Every actor in Chicago was there, going to audition for this. The casting director's assistant, he said, "Hey, you look interesting," and he had me read this scene for him in his office, and he said, "I want you to come back tomorrow, do all this great stuff that you're doing with this character, but stop moving your body. Put it in your eyes, because I want you to meet Chris, and he is going to be looking at your eyes." And you're going to communicate all this stuff you're doing here. And I went home to my little studio apartment in uptown Chicago, and I figured out what that meant.
Yeah.
I came back the next day. I did it for Chris. That week, they shot that bank heist sequence with the clowns.
Right.
And I was devastated. I was crushed.
Because you didn't get
the
it.
Part.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. 4 months later, I got the call that they had been saving me for a different role, and I was going to now be in The Dark Knight. And I went, and a much better role than I had auditioned for.
Get out of here. Tell me what you know about the Joker.
So I can see that note where it was, play it all in your eyes.
And your little giggle tells the audience you're a disciple, you're an acolyte.
And then we jump forward in time a little bit, and Harvey Dent is descending into madness here.
You wanna play games? How's that feel? I wouldn't! You don't think I will? You don't think I will? No. No, I wouldn't. That's why I'm not gonna leave it up to me. Heads, you get to keep your head. Tails, not so lucky. So, you wanna tell me about the Joker?
What you're playing here is so incredible to me. Like, it's obvious there's fear and there's
Here's relief.
I don't know anything! Don't!
Like, the terror and the almost joy, like, giggles that we're getting from you almost. Like,
This is fanaticism.
Leave a man's life to chance.
Not exactly.
His name's Schiff, Thomas. He's a paranoid schizophrenic. Former patient at Arkham, the kind of mind the Joker attracts. What do you expect to learn from him?
I just love, like, in the edit, Batman walks in and says that line, and then we cut to you, and we get just that tiny hint of a grin before it cuts away from you. Like, I'm just fascinated by what you're playing here. So talk to me about, like, what is the psychology? How do you get into this?
I had not seen the scene later that was he's a paranoid schizophrenic, the kind of mind the Joker attracts, because that we didn't shoot until October. So all I saw was that scene in the ambulance. But the decision that I made was, how great would it be for me as a character to actually have a kind of psych disorder where no matter what I'm trying to say, all I can really do 95% of the time is laugh. Because I feel like that's a condition that I had seen in a documentary where somebody couldn't stop laughing, and it reminded me a bit of The Man Who Laughs and the sadness of, imagine being under duress, being like mentally ill and being forced to participate in activities that you really didn't necessarily want to participate in, but because this person, the Joker, had forced me into these situations and was using me, and I felt like there's moments that I wanted to play where I'm trying to actually tell Dent what's going on, but the only thing I can elucidate because of my issues is just to giggle. And so that's what I played. It gave me an opportunity to create a complexity to my character that the whole thing is so sad, and only Batman ultimately is the one who can save me and go, what are you doing? You can't torture. You're not going to get anything valid from this. So that's how it all kind of happened.
When Batman tells you to tone it down, you know you've gone too far.
This week's episode is brought to you by Mended Light, my online trauma clinic. Many of you, like this week's special guest, have had your lives rocked by trauma. It could be that your world no longer feels safe because of loss, tragedy, or abuse. It could be that you used to feel confident, but now you're trying to control things because of fear, anxiety, and panic. Maybe you don't know who or how to trust, and it's tough to form long-lasting, healthy relationships. Perhaps you struggle to function or thrive at work, at school, or in social situations, and it's hard to believe that things can get better. You may even feel like you're worthless, and whatever light you had inside you is going out. If any of what I've just mentioned describes you, we've got a proven system that has helped thousands of people to heal and thrive again, and I believe it will help you. Our Innate Healing program offers trauma recovery tools and support through a combination of online video courses and one-on-one work with a member of our clinical team. Our trauma specialists all have advanced degrees in clinical fields like psychology, family therapy, and trauma recovery. I've handpicked and personally trained every one of them in our trauma recovery program. They are experienced and skilled and will guide you step by step from fear to courage, from anxiety to power, and from darkness to inner light. They'll also guide you through our Relationship Foundations program, a series of online courses in which I teach you all of the conflict resolution, communication, and connection skills that I've taught thousands of people in therapy. We also have an online membership site with new courses every month, live Q&As, and podcasts with Alicia and I to help guide you and give you additional support. It's time to step out of the darkness into the light. It's time to get the help you need. It's time to replace fear with peace. Go to mendedlight.com/CT and schedule an 80-minute first session appointment with a member of my clinical team today.
But my anxiety at that stage was just beginning the process of treatment, and you want to utilize what energy you have to muster when you're creating and performing a character, but you want to do so in a healthy and safe way as well. So it's like, for me, when I got to set and I didn't even know what I was doing, I'd never been on a film set, all of a sudden I'm in a hair and makeup trailer with people like Gary Oldman and Heath Ledger and Christian Bale. And one of the wonderful things about Christopher Nolan was his ability to set me at ease and get me to relax and help me.
There's something you're doing right that these incredible filmmakers just keep going, oh, hey, yeah, I got a part for David in my next movie.
Yeah.
That's an incredible thing. My primary work is as a director, and when I find collaborators that I really get along with, it's like I'm always looking for ways to include them. And the fact that you've done that with, lightweights like Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve and Peyton Reed, and it's pretty amazing.
I'm very lucky. Very lucky. Oh yeah, speaking of Denis and frequent collaborators, here we go.
This is a child abduction dramatic thriller.
Hi.
And you're a suspect.
Morning.
Just want to see how you react.
Why'd you run away from me the other night, man?
I've never seen you before. You sure you have the right house?
You doing some shopping at the Value Mall lately?
Yeah. Why? Is it a crime to shop there? I can't afford to buy suits from Brooks Brothers. Yeah, no. Yeah, man, you bought children's clothes. Did I? Must have been in a hurry.
Mm-hmm. Do you have children?
I don't have any.
So the detective brings your character in and, tries to interview you and doesn't get much.
Yet another terrifying interrogation.
Yeah, it's like early in your career, getting interrogated by all these heavyweights, Aaron Eckhart and Jake Gyllenhaal, really bringing the heat.
So children's lives are in danger right now.
Yes.
So that's, the gloves are off.
Justification. Obviously, there's a lot of evidence that would make it seem like my character is a very viable suspect. So
Absolutely.
The
script sets you up as a red herring really, really well.
Really well. And the way that they shot it between Roger Deakins and Denis Villeneuve's kind of vision for how you see me.
Tell me what you're drawing. You said you were drawing a map. Looks like a f***ing puzzle. You tell me what you're drawing.
And the detective doesn't know it yet, but what has actually happened is your character was kidnapped and abused by the people who are kidnapping and murdering these children. It's
Exactly.
a serial case.
Exactly.
And so, seeing what you're playing here, I want to talk to you about how difficult it is to play big emotion like this in the middle of technically difficult physical scenes. What was your process getting into this? Because it's so beautifully played.
Bob Taylor is the extreme version of a guy who suffered severely at the hands of some really psychopathic people when he was just a little boy, and he's the one victim of theirs who got away and was now living a life still imprisoned by his captors because he didn't get the mental health care that he needed in recovery, which is also something that happened to me as a young person. I did not receive the treatment or help that I feel like that I should have gotten, and that had a really detrimental effect on my mental health. The things that had a major impact on me, which like the revelations that my maternal grandfather was molesting kids in my family. That's a true story. Or the really tumultuous divorce that my parents went through. The death of a good friend in childhood. These moments in my childhood.
Yeah.
So as an adult now, I have integrated and I'm working with, to this day, the 12-year-old me who suffered in that 7-year-old me. I put my hand on my chest and it's like he's still in there. And if I can do the work with my therapist and my psychiatrist and my own spiritual practice and working with my wife and working with my friends and my family and myself and my journey of mindfulness, then the wonderful thing is integration, healing, not denying, but actually like embracing those moments of trauma, those things that set my course off, that jacked up the wiring. The 7-year-old, if as an adult I'm not doing the work and I haven't gotten the help, the 7-year-old all of a sudden is steering my ship, is running my brain, and is behaving in a way that a 7-year-old would when they feel threatened. Now, here's the extreme version of that, Bob Taylor. Because he never got the help he needed, the 7-year-old Bob, who was traumatized in those ways, is steering the ship 24/7 because he's constantly in fear that those people are going to come back and get him. I was able to bring that into the work, and it was healthy. It was a very healthy, difficult, but being with Denny, who cares very deeply for his actors and is very, loving and supportive, was fantastic. There was a moment with the suicide scene, because I am someone who has a history with suicide, that was triggering and difficult for me, and I wish if I was to play a suicide scene again, I would have asked for a little more support and help, because there was one moment in shooting that I think I got a little bit off track, felt a little lost, but luckily we kind of stopped for a moment and I was able to get back. And we do that. I do that in art. I can write really intense stories in my comics or my films that I am now getting the opportunity. It's empowering, and I'm able to reclaim things, tell stories, use my imagination, and I'm not. It's just a fine line. I want to make that clear to the audience that like what I'm not doing is the work on set. Like I'm not going to set, or I'm not going to write a script for other actors to perform and going, I am
this is how I will achieve my own catharsis.
This is therapy. No. That I have to do with the therapist. That I have to do with the psychologist, the psychiatrist, with my wife, my partners, my children, my family, the work that I'm doing in life. That's all its own thing.
Yeah, just because creating art can be therapeutic doesn't mean it is therapy.
That's a quote that is, make a bumper sticker, because I think because I have seen the opposite. I've seen where people have come in and brought their trauma baggage to work, and it just goes off the rails, and it's not healthy, and I don't think it's good for anybody, and it doesn't always lead to productive art.
It's not good for you, and it's slowing down the work for everyone else and making everyone else, like, there's a weird discomfort with it and stuff, and it's like, I'm glad you're processing, but this is a professional setting, and there's a different setting.
The only thing that is therapy, because I know therapists who treat being a therapist as their own personal therapy, and that's not what it's there for.
If you've got a 10-year-old who's written a suicide letter and is preparing their attempt, yes, you want to get in that support and be there and comfort and love them, but you need to get that kid to a licensed psychologist, right? Yes. Like, that was, looking back now as a grown-up, I'm doing a lot of like, hey kid, I love you, man. I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry you didn't get the support that you needed at that time. And I think there's tons of people who are going to watch this who it's not maybe that they had a suicide attempt, but maybe they had a bad accident. Maybe they lost somebody important. Maybe their parents had a bad divorce. Maybe they were bullied. Maybe they had body dysmorphia. Maybe they just hated themselves for all those things. But most of us didn't get the proper support that we needed at that time, and integrate that now and do the work now, and you'd be amazed. I am so proud of the work that my wife and I have been doing, and I've been working at this journey for a long time. Like I said, I'm 21 years into my journey of recovery, but like the more I can do that work, the more I, as a grown-ass man, middle-aged dad, can drive the ship and own my decisions and my choices and my behavior in a way that I can be the version of myself that I want to be all the time. Does that make sense?
It does.
For sure.
So what happens to Cowboy in your story?
So this is, your character has been addicted to heroin, living in a car.
Whatever it takes, no matter what. So
and
goes out on this big bender.
He's in an inpatient clinic right now.
Yep. Finally getting treatment.
And he comes on this alley where these guys are brutalizing this poor young girl.
Talking about his
He
writing.
just goes completely animal, you know, tears him apart, and then there's this guy laying there bleeding to death, and then this girl is looking up at him like he's her savior or something, but he's not. And he climbs on top of her and he's gonna kill her, but they get him, the police. He's got this tear running down his face, and their machines plucked him out and they haul him away to the trash compactors.
This character obviously loves a good sci-fi yarn.
Well, you've got, the film is about your character and his girlfriend, who both come from more upper middle class, but whose lives have devolved into poverty and homelessness because you're just running scams to feed your heroin addiction. And there's a bit of a Bonnie and Clyde element to it, except for you're not physically hurting other people, but you're going around doing scams and everything. Yeah. And I love this scene because it speaks to his self-loathing, right? He rescues her, but then he hurts her. And she sees him as a savior, but he's not. He's really a monster, and the police haul him off to the trash compactors. And in the context of the film, it's so heartbreaking because her character, I mean, she just adores him, and he knows he's not good for her. And he knows that if she stays with him, she's going to keep being hurt because he sees himself as broken and as trash.
And there's a moment there where he's writing a story, and in the writing of that story realizes he is writing a reflection of himself through a sci-fi lens and how he feels about himself, and it kind of dawns on him, and that's a big breakthrough moment for Jude. I always thought it was so fascinating that you can love somebody so much even though it's a terribly destructive relationship, and there's that point where you either go, we're just going to keep doing this forever and do this dance until we're dead, or somebody gets in the lifeboat, which in the film one of the characters has to do. And that's the story I wanted to tell, and I was able to draw upon my experience as an addict and as somebody who was, you know, suffered with some of the similar struggles as these characters, and bring that into the narrative, but hopefully make it a more, you know, cinematic kind of story. So I created, you know, rhythms to it and stuff, but it's very much inspired by my own real life.
Well, and if you don't mind my saying so, it's hard to watch in the right way. It's not hard to watch because it's bad or poorly made. It's hard to watch because it's meant to be hard to watch. It's meant to make you stare things in the face. And I think your character, through a lot of the movie, it's not love. It's affection. It's attachment. And as he starts to, you know, he writes the story and he starts to see what he's doing to her, what being with him does to her. And I think it transitions into actual love, which is, I want her to be at peace. I want her to be healthy. And I want that more than I want her with me, right? And it's this beautiful, it's not your classic love story. It's a completely different type of love story, but in its own way. And even with all the darkness that you have to look at in this film, there's a wholesomeness to it and a beauty to it that I was very moved by.
Yeah, it's a lovely film. I like to think of movies as, you know, there's sort of popcorn candy movies, which are the movies we all love and they're fun to, you know, just consume and they're great. And then there's vegetables movies that are like really good for you movies. And Animals to me was like really nicely seasoned roasted vegetables. It was not unpleasant to watch. I really enjoyed watching it. but it definitely is not
Ant-Man,
which we're going to talk about right now.
The Ant-Man is in the building.
Ant-Man is in the building.
It's a Carbondale. It's from 1910.
Made from the same steel as the Titanic.
So the Ant-Man movies are really fun and really silly. There's good, emotional stuff, but your character is not playing a lot of that.
Iceberg did?
Yeah, man, it killed DiCaprio.
Killed everybody.
Not to kill the old lady. She still throw the jewel into the oceans.
Oh, you know what? I heard stories like what happened to you. Like this crazy creepy cat who like walks through walls and stuff. Like a ghost.
Like Baba Yaga.
I
Baba Yaga, the witch. They tell stories to children to frighten them. You know Baba Yaga?
Whoever stole it, we need to find it.
Oh, you don't find someone like that. They find you.
Like Baba Yaga.
All right. What is the work process like to be sitting in a room with all those heavy hitters and like, I'm going to be really silly. Here we go.
Here's what I've learned with that stuff. I just got to say the lines, just give it what just be there, be present, play the intention the way that you would anything else. I will say that I'm proud of with the line about the old lady in the oceans. I made that up. That was an improv, and that was nice.
Dude.
Whenever you improvise a line and then Paul Rudd thinks you're funny, man, there's really no better feeling than that.
Well, where is Scott Lang? Literally speaking!
Oh, the woods.
The woods?
What do you mean, the woods?
The Muir Woods, Second Fire Road off the Panoramic Highway.
For God's sake.
Oh!
Baba Yaga, come at night. Little children sleepy tight.
Oh my God.
I made up the little song. I made up the
I
little song.
I knew it. I knew it. Oh man. Okay. So this is gonna sound like the silliest thing. What is the prep work to be like in a Laurel and Hardy spook house movie? Oh, Baba Yaga! Like, what is the prep to get a character believably into that space? Because it's believable. It doesn't feel like you're acting.
But it's so big.
It's so huge.
It's about the director and the way that they establish the tone of the world that you're playing in. As long as it's authentic to that world that you're creating and the given circumstances that we're creating, where yes, I'm friends with a guy who can shrink down to be this tall, and yes, this is a world of superheroes. I created a character who was obsessed with Elvis, who grew up in a small village outside of Siberia, who got involved with the mob at a young age and was caught up in crime and ended up coming to the United States with the dream of hopefully going to Graceland at some point. Like, you create all that stuff, fits into the world, and then you imagine, okay, what would Kurt do if he really saw somebody materialize in front of him? And, it's just, oh man, it's so fun. I love it.
The thing I loved about it, I have a weird personal connection with Kurt. I lived in Russia for almost 3 years growing up. And I have met 50 Kurts. Super smart, super educated Russian people. I literally know a guy who is a computer scientist, like a Russian computer scientist guy, who also believes in UFOs and Baba Yaga. Like,
totally,
straight up.
Totally. Yes.
Like,
yes,
I know
yes.
that guy. And it was it was so fun to see it on screen, and just the way you did it was amazing.
Thank you.
David, I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to ask you to come back and talk about more of your films.
There's so much. There's Polka Dot Man. There's
bit
Dune.
later.
There's All Creatures Here Below. But those who are watching, David's got all these films. Check them out. They're fantastic.
Thank you so much. This was really, really awesome. And I love that you guys have this show. And let's do it again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David DASTMALCHIAN. Psychology of an actor. The most psychologically fascinating actor that I can think of.
Yep.
And thanks for being on our show.
So until next time, watch David DASTMALCHIAN movies. There you go.
Yeah,
That's
please.
it.